It started with laughter, a toast, champagne bubbling under string lights. And then she said 6 words that made every person at that anniversary party realize they were about to witness something they could never unsay. Have you ever been at a celebration where someone revealed a secret so devastating that you wished you could unhear it? Where the room went from joy to absolute horror in a single breath. Because what happened that June evening wasn't just a confession. It was a detonation. And before midnight struck, 3 families would be destroyed, 1 woman would collapse, and 1 man would do something that still haunts everyone who was there. But we'll get to that. Welcome to True Crime Files HQ, where we uncover the darkest truths hidden behind closed doors. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the stories we tell here will keep you up at night. And to my loyal subscribers, thank you for being part of this community. Your support means everything. It helps stories like this, story that get lost in time, finally come to light. Now let me take you back to that party. It started with music, laughter, the clinking of champagne flutes under a canopy of fairy lights strung across the backyard. The kind of anniversary party where everyone dresses just a little nicer than usual. Where cousins travel from 3 states over. Where the husband spent 2 weeks building a custom photo wall showcasing 10 years of marriage. The weather cooperated. Warm June air, no humidity, a slight breeze that made the paper lantern sway just enough to cast dancing shadows across the lawn. Kids chased each other through the garden, their shrieks of joy punctuating the adult conversations. Aunts clustered near the dessert table, debating recipes, and whose pound cake recipe was actually Grammy's original. Uncles stood by the grill, pretending to supervise the caterer, beers in hand, talking about the playoff game from last weekend. The husband, let's call him Trevor, moved through the crowd like a man who had everything figured out. Handshakes, hugs, backslaps from college buddies. That confident smile of someone celebrating a decade of making it work. He wore a navy suit jacket over dark jeans, his hair freshly cut, his wedding ring catching the light every time he gestured while telling story. At 34 years old, Trevor looked like success personified. Good job. Beautiful wife. The kind of life people post about on social media with captions like #blessed. His wife, we'll call her Bridget, looked stunning in a champagne-colored dress that caught the light every time she moved. Hair pulled back in an elegant updo. Makeup perfect, the kind that looks natural but took an hour. The type of woman who made other women whisper, "How does she do it?" 2 kids, full-time career, and she still looks like that. At 32, Bridget seemed to have it all together. Or at least, that's what the 73 guests at that party believed. But if you watched closely, really closely, you'd notice something off. The way she kept glancing at her phone, then sliding it back into her clutch like it burned her fingers. The way her smile froze whenever Trevor touched her waist. The way she avoided eye contact with certain guests. Specifically, one guest. Trevor's older brother, we'll call him Garrett. Garrett stood near the makeshift bar, nursing a whiskey that he kept swirling but never quite finishing. At 37, he looked like an older, slightly rougher version of Trevor. Same strong jawline, same dark hair, though Garrett's was starting to gray at the temples. But where Trevor had softness in his eyes, Garrett had something harder. Something that made people uncomfortable if they looked too long. His wife, let's call her Heather, stood beside him looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Her arms crossed. Her responses to small talk clipped and mechanical. The kind of body language that screams, "I don't want to be here," without saying a word. And every time Bridget passed within 10 feet of Garrett, the air seemed to thicken. A magnetic pull. A shared secret hanging between them like smoke. People noticed. No one said anything. Because that's how families work, right? You sense the tension. You feel the wrongness humming beneath the surface of forced smiles and polite conversation. But you smile anyway and pretend the cracks aren't showing. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You toast a happiness you're not sure is real. Because acknowledging the truth means dealing with consequences nobody wants to face. The catering company had outdone themselves. Beef tenderloin sliced thin and arranged on silver platters. Grilled shrimp skewers with a lemon butter glaze. Truffle mac and cheese that people were going back for thirds of. And a 3-tier cake that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. 73 guests filled the backyard. A jazz quartet played standards, The Way You Look Tonight, Fly Me to the Moon, songs that made people sway unconsciously while they talked. There was even a signature cocktail named the Trevor and Bridget, vodka, elderflower liqueur, champagne, and a twist of lemon. It was too sweet and too strong, just like the night itself. Bridget's younger sister, call her Paige, kept refilling Bridget's glass, kept whispering things that made Bridget laugh too loudly, kept shooting looks at Garrett that could peel paint off walls. Paige knew. You could see it in the way she positioned herself between Bridget and Garrett whenever possible. In the way she touched Bridget's arm like she was trying to anchor her sister to reality. In the way she kept saying under her breath, "Don't. Please don't." Something was happening. Something had been happening for longer than anyone realized. And alcohol was about to make sure everyone found out. By the time the sun started setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and blood orange, Bridget had consumed more champagne than food. Her cheeks flushed pink, her movements looser, less controlled, her laughter always a half-second too late to be natural. She'd kick off her heels at some point, her bare feet pressing into the cool grass as she moved through conversations like a ghost haunting her own party. Trevor kept checking on her. "You okay, babe? Want some water?" "I'm fine," she'd say, waving him off with a smile that didn't quite work. "It's our night. Let me enjoy it." But her eyes kept drifting. To Garrett, to her phone, to the house, like she was considering making a run for it. Then someone, a cousin, maybe, or a college friend whose name nobody could quite remember, shouted an idea that made everyone groan and cheer at the same time. "Let's play a game. Couples Edition." The energy shifted immediately. The crowd gathered in a loose circle on the lawn, that primal human instinct to form an arena kicking in. Folding chairs dragged closer. Solo cups refilled. That electric anticipation of watching other people answer uncomfortable questions for entertainment. People love this, don't they? The voyeuristic thrill of seeing someone else squirm, of hearing secrets that aren't theirs, of judging choices they didn't have to make. Trevor laughed, pulled Bridget close, kissed her temple in that performative way couples do at parties when they want everyone to see how happy they are. "You ready for this, babe?" Bridget's smile didn't reach her eyes, but she nodded. Paige mouthed from across the circle, "Don't." But Bridget wasn't looking at her sister anymore. The game started innocently enough. Softball questions lobbed at the anniversary couple and a few other married pairs in the circle. "What's your spouse's most annoying habit?" "Trevor. She reorganizes my closet when she's stressed. I can never find anything." Laughter. "Where was your first kiss?" Bridget. "Outside a movie theater. He spilled popcorn all over himself trying to be smooth." More laughter. "What's the secret you've never told them?" Trevor. "I actually hate your mother's lasagna, but I eat it anyway because it makes you happy." The crowd roared. Comfortable embarrassment. The safe kind of exposure. But then the questions got deeper, more pointed. Someone asked another couple about regrets, about roads not taken, about the what-ifs that keep you up at 3 in the morning. And Bridget kept drinking, kept glancing at Garrett, who had gone very still, his whiskey forgotten in his hand, kept swallowing words that were trying to climb out of her throat. You know how alcohol works at these events, right? It doesn't just lower inhibitions. It unlocks doors you spent years building locks for. It exposes truths you buried under years of routine and deflection. It turns whispers into shouts. It turns thoughts into confessions. It turns private shame into public spectacle. And Bridget was drunk. Not sloppy drunk. Not stumbling drunk. But that dangerous kind of drunk where emotions run hotter than logic. Where consequences feel theoretical. Where the weight of secrets becomes unbearable. By the time someone turned to Bridget and asked, "What's one thing you wish you could tell Trevor but haven't?" The entire backyard seemed to hold its breath. Even the jazz quartet seemed to play quieter, like they sensed something was about to break. Bridget stood, swayed slightly, her champagne glass dangling from her fingers like she'd forgotten she was holding it. She looked at Trevor, really looked at him, like she was memorizing his face before she destroyed everything they'd built. Then at Garrett, whose expression had gone from nervous to terrified. Then back at Trevor, and she opened her mouth. "I need to say something." Her voice cut through the music, through the laughter, through the comfortable buzz of a party hitting its peak. Conversations died mid-sentence. People turned. The circle tightened unconsciously, the human instinct to witness drama up close. Trevor's smile faltered, confusion creeping into his eyes. "Babe, you don't have to." "No, I do." Bridget's hands trembled as she set down her glass. The champagne sloshed, spilled over the rim, soaked into the grass. Someone's kid asked why everyone stopped talking. A mother shushed them quickly. "I've been carrying this for so long," Bridget continued, her words thick with wine and guilt and something darker, something like relief. "And I can't pretend anymore." Trevor stood, reaching for her, his face a mixture of concern and growing dread. "Bridget, maybe we should talk about this inside. I've been sleeping with your brother." Silence. The kind of silence that has physical weight, that presses against your chest like a hand, that makes you forget how to breathe, that makes time feel suspended. Someone dropped a plate near the dessert table. The crash of ceramic on concrete sounded like a gunshot. The jazz quartet missed a beat, then stopped entirely, the saxophone player lowering his instrument slowly. A child started crying somewhere in the house. Trevor didn't move. Didn't blink, didn't breathe. He just stood there like someone had replaced his bones with concrete, like his brain couldn't process the words his ears had just heard. The backyard full of people became a tableau. 73 human statues frozen in shock. But Bridget wasn't done, because alcohol doesn't just unlock doors, it kicks them off their hinges. It burns bridges you might have wanted to cross back over. It says the thing you can never unsay. "And I'm pregnant," she whispered, tears streaming through her carefully applied makeup, mascara tracking down her face like war paint. "And I don't know which one of you is the father. If you're still watching this, and I know you are because you need to see where this goes, drop a broken heart in the comments right now. Because what happens next? Nobody at that party was ready for it. And before you judge Bridget, before you judge Trevor, before you judge anyone in this story, stick around. Because nothing is what it seems. And the worst revelation? It hasn't even happened yet. The backyard erupted. Not in shouting, not yet, but in that horrible, breathless chaos of people trying to process the unprocessable. Gasps. Whispers that turned into urgent conversations. People grabbing their partner's arms. Others backing away slowly like they didn't want to be associated with what was happening. Some pulled out phones, not to call anyone, but because they didn't know what else to do with their hands. Heather, Garrett's wife, let out a sound that wasn't quite a scream. More like the noise someone makes when they've been punched in the stomach and all the air leaves their body at once. She turned to Garrett, who stood frozen, his face drained of all color, his whiskey glass slipping from his fingers and shattering on the patio stones. "Tell me she's lying," Heather whispered, her voice breaking. Garrett, look at me. Tell me she's lying. He couldn't. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no words came out. His silence was its own confession, more damning than any words could have been. Heather's face crumpled. She took a step back from him like he'd become radioactive. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Oh my God. You." She couldn't finish the sentence. Bridget collapsed into a lawn chair, sobbing, her whole body shaking with the force of tears she'd been holding back for months, maybe years. Paige, Bridget's sister, rushed to her side, but her eyes were on Trevor. "I tried to tell her not to do this," Paige said to no one in particular, her voice pleading. "I tried. I told her this wasn't the way, but she wouldn't listen. She said she couldn't breathe anymore under the weight of it." Trevor finally moved, slowly, deliberately, like a man underwater. He walked toward Garrett with the careful steps of someone trying not to explode, trying to keep control when everything inside is screaming. The crowd parted for him. No one spoke. No one dared. "How long?" Trevor's voice was quiet, deadly quiet, the kind of quiet that's more terrifying than shouting. Garrett opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Trevor, How long?" Each word enunciated with surgical precision. Garrett's shoulders sagged. Defeat. Shame. But also something else. Something that looked almost like defiance. 3 years. 3 years. The number hung in the air like poison gas spreading through the crowd. 3 years of family dinners where they all sat around the same table. 3 years of holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, where Garrett and Bridget smiled at each other across rooms full of people who didn't know. 3 years of Trevor bragging about his perfect marriage while his wife and his brother. Someone vomited in the bushes near the fence. Parents started ushering children inside, hands covering young ears, voices urgent. "Go inside, sweetie. Now." The caterers backed away slowly toward their van, unsure if they should stay or flee or start packing up the uneaten food. The jazz quartet was already gone, instruments packed, loading door closing, getting the hell out before things got worse. Heather lunged at Bridget, her manicured nails extended like claws. Her scream primal, wounded. "You destroyed my life." It took 3 people to hold her back. Paige, an uncle, and one of Trevor's groomsmen who happened to be standing close enough to react. "You destroyed everything." Heather kept screaming, fighting against the hands holding her. "We have kids. We have 2 kids. What am I supposed to tell them? What am I supposed to?" She broke down, just crumpled, the rage transforming into grief so profound it was hard to watch. But Bridget just kept crying, kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," like a broken prayer. Like words could somehow undo 3 years of betrayal. Trevor stood between his wife and his brother, his head turning back and forth between them like he couldn't decide which betrayal cut deeper. The woman he married, the brother he trusted, both of them destroying him with the same lie. His hands curled into fists at his sides, trembling. And then Garrett said something that made it worse. So much worse. "You want to know the truth?" Garrett's voice was ragged, defensive, desperate. The voice of a man who's already lost everything and has nothing left to protect. "You want to know why this happened?" Trevor's hands curled tighter. "Don't you dare try to justify. This isn't the first time." The words landed like a grenade, rolling into the center of the circle. Everyone waiting for the explosion. Bridget's head snapped up, mascara-stained face twisted in confusion. "What?" Garrett's eyes were wild now, glassy with unshed tears and too much whiskey and the weight of secrets that had been suffocating him for over a decade. A man with nothing left to lose. "This isn't the first time I've done this to you, Trevor. This isn't the first time I've taken something that was yours." The crowd collectively leaned in despite themselves. Trevor went very, very still. "That dangerous stillness of a man at his breaking point. Remember Natalie? And just like that, the entire energy shifted. Because everyone there over the age of 30 knew that name. Everyone there had heard the story. The whispered tragedy. The thing that nearly destroyed Trevor 12 years ago. But nobody had ever spoken out loud at a family gathering. It was the family's unspoken rule. We don't talk about Natalie. Natalie, Trevor's first fiancée. The woman who died 12 years ago in a car accident just 3 weeks before their wedding. The woman whose death sent Trevor into a depression so deep his parents thought they might lose him too. The woman he never, ever talked about. Not even to Bridget. Don't, Trevor whispered, his voice breaking for the first time. Don't you say her name. But Garrett was past the point of mercy. Past the point of stopping. He was a dam that had finally cracked, and everything toxic he'd been holding back for 12 years was flooding out. She was going to leave you, Garrett said, each word a knife twisting. She was going to call off the wedding. Because of me. Heather gasped. Bridget covered her mouth with both hands. Trevor's mother, standing near the back, forgotten until now, started crying, her hand clutching her chest. The night she died, Garrett continued, his voice rising, defiant now, angry at Trevor for making him feel this guilt for so many years. She was driving to my apartment. She was coming to tell me she'd made her choice, that she was choosing me over you. But she never made it because, stop. Trevor's voice cracked the night open. Raw, broken, desperate. But Garrett finished anyway. Because I've been drinking at your bachelor party that afternoon. Because I got behind the wheel when I shouldn't have. Because when I crossed that center line and hit her car head on, silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Someone's phone fell to the ground. Nobody moved to pick it up. I didn't just kill Natalie that night, Trevor. Garrett's voice dropped to barely a whisper, but in that silence, everyone heard every word. I killed any chance you ever had of trusting anyone again, including her. He pointed at Bridget, who sat in that lawn chair looking like she wanted the earth to swallow her whole. So yeah, this isn't the first time I betrayed you. And honestly, Garrett laughed. A horrible, broken sound. I don't even know if the guilt is about Natalie anymore or about everything I've taken from you since. Trevor stood there, breathless, broken, his entire life, past and present, revealed as a lie. His first love stolen by the same man who stole his wife, his brother, his own blood. And then he moved, not toward Garrett, but toward the house. Fast. His mother called after him, Trevor, wait. But he was gone, disappeared through the back door. And 30 seconds later, everyone heard the sound of an engine starting, tires screeching, a car peeling out of the driveway, so fast it left rubber on the asphalt. Paige looked at Bridget. What have you done? But Bridget didn't answer. She just sat there, staring at the space where Trevor had been standing. And Garrett? Garrett sank to his knees on the grass. Heather looked down at him with something beyond hate, beyond rage. She whispered, I hope it was worth it. And then she walked away, through the side gate, out to the street. Gone. The party was over. But the story? The story was just beginning. Because what nobody knew yet, what would come out in the investigation that followed, was that Trevor didn't just drive away that night. He drove straight to a place nobody expected, to confront someone nobody saw coming. And what happened there would change everything. Again, the thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just break your heart. It rewires your brain, makes you question every memory, every smile, every I love you that you thought was real. And Trevor had just learned that his entire adult life, every relationship, every trust, every moment of happiness had been built on lies told by the same person, his brother. So when he peeled out of that driveway, tires screaming, guests scattering, his mother calling his name into the darkness, nobody knew where he was going. But Trevor did, because there was one person who knew the whole truth. One person who had been there the night Natalie died. One person who helped Garrett bury the secret that destroyed Trevor's first chance at happiness. And Trevor was about to make them tell him everything. The drive took 17 minutes. Trevor didn't remember a single one of them. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. His breath came in short, sharp bursts like he'd been running. Tears he didn't remember crying had dried in tracks down his face. The radio was off. The silence inside the car was deafening. But his mind? His mind was screaming. Images flashing. Natalie's smile the last time he saw her alive. The police officer at his door at 2 a.m. The funeral where he couldn't stop shaking. Years of guilt. His guilt for not being a better fiancé. For working too much. For taking her for granted. For somehow, in some way he couldn't define, failing her. And all this time, she was leaving him for Garrett. And Garrett killed her before she could. The cruelty of it made Trevor's stomach turn. The cosmic joke of spending 12 years mourning a woman who was about to break his heart anyway. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that Garrett let him suffer. Let him blame himself. Let him spiral into depression so deep that Trevor's parents considered having him committed. Let him eventually, finally, claw his way back to something resembling happiness with Bridget, and then betrayed him again, with the same woman, in the same way. The pattern was so deliberate it felt like torture. Trevor's foot pressed harder on the accelerator. 70 miles per hour through a residential zone. 80. He didn't care. Red light, he ran it. Stop sign, ignored. Some distant part of his brain knew he was being reckless. Knew he should pull over. Calm down. Think. But thinking was the problem. Thinking meant processing. And processing meant feeling. And feeling meant breaking. And Trevor couldn't break. Not yet. Not until he got answers. He pulled up to a small house on the edge of town. White siding, black shutters, a porch light that flickered like it was about to burn out. The house belonged to someone Trevor hadn't spoken to in 6 years. His father's younger brother. Uncle Warren. Warren had been Garrett's best friend growing up. His partner in crime. The cool uncle who let them drink beer in his garage when they were teenagers. The one who taught them how to change oil and throw a punch and charm their way out of trouble. But 6 years ago, Warren and Trevor's father had a falling out so severe that Warren stopped coming to family events. Stopped calling. Disappeared from their lives like he'd never existed. Nobody talked about why. The family just moved on. Pretended Warren was dead. But Trevor remembered. He remembered the night of the falling out. Remembered his father screaming at Warren in the driveway. Remembered his mother crying. Remembered catching one phrase through the closed window. You helped him cover it up. At the time, Trevor thought they were talking about something financial. Some business deal gone wrong. But now Trevor knew exactly what his father had been talking about. He killed the engine. Sat in the sudden silence. His phone had been vibrating nonstop in his pocket. 27 missed calls, 63 texts. He didn't look at any of them. He got out of the car, walked up the cracked driveway, climbed the 3 steps to the porch, and knocked. Hard. Once. Twice. 3 times. The porch light flickered. Footsteps inside. The door opened. Warren stood there in sweatpants and an old band t-shirt, gray stubble covering his jaw, a beer in his hand. He looked at Trevor. Trevor looked at him, and Warren's face went pale. Trevor, what are you? Tell me about Natalie. Warren's grip on the beer bottle tightened. Trevor, it's late. You should. Tell me about the night she died. I don't know what you were. Tell me what you and Garrett did. Trevor's voice cracked. Raw. Desperate. The kind of desperation that comes from a man who's just had his entire reality shattered. Warren stood in the doorway, frozen, and then his shoulders sagged. He stepped back, opened the door wider. Come in. The house smelled like cigarettes and old pizza. Dishes piled in the sink. Mail stacked on the coffee table. The life of a man who'd given up on trying. Warren gestured to the couch. Trevor didn't sit. He stood in the middle of the living room, fists clenched, breathing hard. Start talking. Warren set his beer down, ran a hand through his thinning hair, sat heavily in a recliner that had seen better days. How much do you know? I know Garrett was having an affair with Natalie. I know she was coming to see him the night she died. I know he was drunk when he got behind the wheel. I know he hit her car. Trevor's voice was mechanical, reciting facts to keep from screaming. Warren closed his eyes. Yeah, that's about right. What I don't know, Trevor continued, his voice dropping to something dangerous, is what happened after. Warren was quiet for a long moment. Then, after the crash, Garrett called me. 2:30 in the morning. Screaming, crying. Said he'd done something terrible. Said he needed help. Trevor's jaw clenched. I drove to the scene. Police weren't there yet. It was a back road, no houses nearby. Took them a while to get the call. When I got there, Warren's voice broke. Natalie's car was demolished. Driver's side crushed. She was already gone, Trevor. There was nothing anyone could have done. And Garrett, sitting on the side of the road, blood on his face from the airbag, in shock, kept saying she was coming to me. She was coming to me. What did I do? Trevor's hands trembled. What did you do, Warren? I got him out of there. The words hung in the air. His car was still drivable, barely. I drove it to a car wash 3 towns over. Cleaned it. Got rid of anything that could link him to the scene. Drove him home. Put him in bed. Told him to say he'd been there all night if anyone asked. Trevor's vision blurred. The police investigated. They ruled it a single-vehicle accident. Natalie lost control on a curve. Hit a tree. That was the official story. But it wasn't the truth. No. And you let me believe. Trevor couldn't finish the sentence. Warren stood, his eyes red. Your father found out 3 years later. Found some evidence I'd missed, receipts, timeline that didn't match. He confronted me. Told me I was dead to him. And he was right. I've been dead for 6 years, Trevor. Living in this house. Drinking myself to sleep. Because I helped my nephew kill a woman and let her fiancé think it was somehow his fault. The room spun. Trevor grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. Why? His voice was barely a whisper. Why would you do that? Because he's family. Because I was drunk too. Because I made a choice in 30 seconds that I've regretted every day since. Warren's voice broke. Your father gave me a choice that night he found out. Go to the police and tell the truth, or leave the family forever. I chose the coward's way. I left, because I couldn't face you. Couldn't face your mother. Couldn't face what I'd done. Trevor stood there, processing. 12 years of grief. 12 years of guilt. 12 years of thinking he'd somehow failed Natalie. And it was all a lie, protected by his own family. Does Bridget know? Warren looked up sharply. What? Does Bridget know about Natalie? About what Garrett did? Warren hesitated. I don't. Warren, does she know? Yes. The single word was a knife. Garrett told her. 2 years into their affair. She found out about Natalie's death, the official story, and started asking questions. Garrett broke down. Told her everything. And she... Warren stopped. She what? She said she didn't care. Said the past was the past. Said what mattered was that they loved each other now. Trevor laughed. A horrible, broken sound. She knew. She knew what he did to me, and she still. He couldn't finish. The betrayal was so complete it took his breath away. Not just Garrett, not just the affair, but Bridget knew. Knew about Natalie. Knew about the cover-up. Knew about the 12 years of pain Trevor carried. And she slept with Garrett anyway. For 3 years. While Trevor trusted her. While he built a life with her. While he thought he'd finally found someone who wouldn't leave. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. Before you click away, before you judge what Trevor does next, I need you to understand something. Hit that like button right now. because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you thought you knew about revenge, justice, and how far a person can be pushed before they snap. Drop a comment with the word truth if you think Trevor has the right to be angry. And subscribe, because Chapter 3 is going to show you exactly how this story ends. And trust me, nobody saw it coming. Trevor walked out of Warren's house without another word, got in his car, sat in the driver's seat. His phone vibrated again. This time he looked. 49 missed calls, 97 texts, most from his mother, some from Paige, a few from numbers he didn't recognize, probably guessed from the party spreading the news. But 3 texts caught his attention, all from the same unknown number. The first one read, "I saw what happened tonight. I was there." The second, "I know where Garrett is right now." The third, "If you want the whole truth, not just about Natalie, but about why Garrett does this, meet me at Riverside Park. East parking lot. Midnight. Come alone." Trevor checked the time. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes. He should ignore it. Should go home. Should call his mother. Should do anything except drive to a dark parking lot to meet a stranger. But Trevor was past logic, past caution, past caring about consequences. He started the engine and drove. Riverside Park was empty at midnight. The parking lot dark except for one flickering streetlight casting long shadows across the asphalt. Trevor pulled in, cut the engine, waited. 2 minutes passed. 5. He was about to leave when headlights appeared. A dark sedan pulled into the lot, parked 3 spaces away. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. Trevor squinted through the darkness, and his blood turned to ice. Because he knew that woman, had known her for years. But she wasn't supposed to be here. Wasn't supposed to know anything about this. Unless... "Hello, Trevor." Her voice was calm. Too calm for midnight in an empty parking lot. "What are you doing here?" "The same thing you are. Looking for answers." "How did you?" "I know everything, Trevor. I've known for 3 years." Trevor's hands clenched. "Who are you?" She stepped closer. The streetlight caught her face, and Trevor's world tilted again. Because the woman standing in front of him, the woman who claimed to know everything, was Heather's younger sister, a woman named Morgan who Trevor had met exactly twice at family gatherings, a woman who was supposed to be living in Seattle, a woman who had no reason to be in this town, at this park at midnight, unless she'd been here all along. "Why are you here, Morgan?" Morgan smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Because I'm the one who told Bridget to confess tonight. I'm the one who's been pushing her for months to tell the truth. I'm the one who made sure everyone would be there to hear it." Trevor's stomach dropped. "Why would you?" "Because Garrett destroyed my life too, Trevor. Just like he destroyed yours. Just like he destroyed Natalie's. Just like he's destroyed everyone he's ever touched." "I don't understand." "Then let me explain." Morgan leaned against her car, crossed her arms, and began to speak. 7 years ago, I was engaged. His name was Ryan. Good man. Kind. Loved me in that simple, uncomplicated way that seems impossible to find. We were planning a spring wedding. Trevor waited. Garrett was Ryan's best friend. Had been since college. When Garrett moved to town for work, Ryan was thrilled. Introduced him to everyone, including me, including Heather. Wait, that's right. I introduced Garrett to my sister. They got married 6 months later. Fast engagement. Everyone said it was romantic. But I knew something was wrong. What happened to Ryan? Morgan's jaw tightened. Ryan found out Garrett was sleeping with me. Behind Heather's back. Behind his back. Garrett was my fiancé's best friend and my sister's new husband, and he managed to manipulate both of us into keeping it secret. Trevor felt sick. When Ryan found out, he confronted Garrett. They fought. Ryan left, got in his car, and Morgan's voice broke. He wrapped his car around a telephone pole. Blood alcohol leveled twice the legal limit. They ruled it suicide by alcohol. depression. But I knew Garrett had something to do with it. Knew Garrett had pushed him there. Did you tell anyone? Who would believe me? I was the fiancée who cheated. The sister who betrayed her family. I had no proof. No evidence. Just a feeling. So I moved to Seattle. Cut contact. Tried to forget. Then why are you back? Morgan's eyes hardened. Because 6 months ago, I got a message from Bridget. She was scared. Said Garrett was getting violent. Said he threatened her when she tried to end things. Said she needed help but didn't know who to trust. And you helped her? I helped her plan tonight. Helped her find the courage to tell the truth publicly where Garrett couldn't hurt her or intimidate her into silence. Because I learned something about men like Garrett, Trevor. Morgan stepped closer. They only have power when their victims are isolated, when the truth stays hidden, when people suffer in silence. But when you expose them, when you make them face their actions in front of everyone, they crumble. Trevor's mind raced. There's something else you need to know, Morgan said quietly. About Natalie. Trevor's breath caught. What about her? She wasn't Garrett's first affair victim. She was his third. Before Natalie, there were 2 other women. Both engaged to men Garrett knew. Both relationships destroyed. One of those women, Amanda, tried to kill herself after the truth came out. She survived, but barely. Trevor stumbled back against his car. Garrett has a pattern, Trevor. He doesn't just betray people. He targets them. Finds men who have something he wants, success, happiness, love, and he systematically destroys them. And you've been his primary target since you were kids. Why? Because you're the golden child. The one everyone loves. The one who succeeds without trying. The one your father brags about. And Garrett? Garrett has spent his entire life in your shadow. Trevor's legs felt weak. This isn't about love, Trevor. It's not even about lust. It's about power, control, the thrill of taking something that doesn't belong to him and watching the person he took it from fall apart. Morgan pulled out her phone. I've been documenting everything. Every woman. Every destroyed relationship. Every pattern of behavior. I have testimony. I have messages. I have evidence. She held up her phone. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to the police. I'm going to tell them everything. About Ryan. About Natalie. About the cover-up. About Warren. All of it. Trevor stared at her. But first, Morgan said, her voice dropping, I need to know if you're with me. Because taking down Garrett, really taking him down, means destroying your family. Your brother goes to prison. Your uncle goes to prison. Your father's reputation gets destroyed for hiding the truth. Your mother loses both her sons. She paused. So I need to know, Trevor, do you want justice? Or do you want to protect your family? Trevor stood there in that empty parking lot, the question hanging between them like a guillotine blade. And then his phone rang. His mother's number. He answered. Put on speaker. Trevor, thank God. Where are you? I'm fine, Mom. I just need... Trevor, listen to me. You need to come home right now. Something in her voice made his blood run cold. What happened? It's Bridget. His mother's voice broke. She collapsed. They took her to the hospital. Oh God, Trevor. She's losing the baby. The phone slipped from Trevor's hand, clattered on the asphalt. Morgan looked at him. What are you going to do? Trevor picked up the phone, stared at it. His wife was in the hospital. His brother had destroyed his life. His family had lied to him for 12 years. And a woman he barely knew was offering him revenge. He looked at Morgan, and he said 3 words that would change everything. I choose justice. Morgan nodded. Then get in. We have one stop to make before the hospital. Where? Morgan's smile was cold. To the place where Garrett thinks he's safe. To confront him one last time. To make him confess everything on record before he has a chance to run. She pulled open her car door. Are you coming? Trevor looked at his car. Looked at his phone. Looked at the road leading to the hospital where his wife was fighting to save a baby that might not even be his. and he got in Morgan's car. Because some betrayals are too deep to forgive. Some wounds too raw to heal. Some truths too important to stay buried. And Trevor was done being the victim in his own story. Morgan's car cut through the darkness like a blade. No music, no conversation, just the hum of the engine and the weight of everything unsaid pressing against the windows. Trevor sat in the passenger seat, his phone buzzing relentlessly in his pocket. His mother, Paige, the hospital, each vibration a reminder of the choice he'd just made. His wife was losing their baby, or Garrett's baby, or nobody's baby now, and he was driving away from her, toward his brother, toward revenge. Morgan's hands gripped the steering wheel, her jaw set. "He's at his lake house," she said without looking at Trevor. 30 minutes north. Heather doesn't know about it. He bought it 2 years ago under an LLC. Uses it when he needs to disappear. How do you know? Because I've been watching him, Trevor, for 6 months. Ever since Bridget contacted me, I've documented everything. His patterns, his lies, his escapes. She glanced at him. Men like Garrett always have a backup plan. Always have a place to run when things get messy. And tonight, things got very messy. Trevor's phone buzzed again. He pulled it out. A text from Paige. "Where are you? Bridget is asking for you. Please come." His thumb hovered over the keyboard. But Morgan spoke first. "If you go to that hospital right now, you'll comfort her. You'll hold her hand. You'll fall back into the pattern of being the good guy who fixes everyone's problems while the people who hurt you walk away. She's my wife. She betrayed you for 3 years. Knowing what Garrett did to you. Knowing about Natalie. She made her choice, Trevor." The words were harsh, but true. Trevor put the phone away. "What's the plan?" Morgan's smile was grim. "We make him confess. I've got recording equipment in my bag. We get him talking, get everything on tape, and then we go to the police before he has time to lawyer up or run. And if he doesn't talk, he'll talk. Men like Garrett can't help themselves. They need you to know how smart they are, how they got away with it. Pride is their weakness." They drove in silence for another 10 minutes. Then Morgan spoke again, softer this time. "I need to tell you something. About the baby." Trevor's stomach clenched. "What about it?" "Bridget told me 3 weeks ago that she'd already done a paternity test. One of those early DNA tests. She knew who the father was." Trevor's breath stopped. "Who?" Morgan looked at him. "It's yours, Trevor. The baby is yours." The words hit him like a physical blow. She knew, and she was planning to tell Garrett it was his. To trap him, to force him to leave Heather and commit to her. Trevor's hands trembled. Tonight wasn't a drunken mistake. It was a calculated move. She wanted Garrett exposed so she could play the victim and keep you as the backup. The safe choice. The one who'd raise the baby and never know it was yours all along. Rage. Pure, white-hot rage flooded through Trevor's veins. "That's why she confessed publicly," Morgan continued. "Because she thought the paternity uncertainty would make you fight for her. Would make you desperate to prove the baby was yours. She was manipulating both of you." Trevor couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The cruelty of it was staggering. "I'm sorry," Morgan said quietly. "I know this is—" "Stop the car. Trevor, stop the car." Morgan pulled over to the shoulder. Trevor threw open the door and stumbled out onto the gravel. He bent over, hands on his knees, gasping for air. His wife, his brother, his unborn child. All of it a game. All of it manipulation. He screamed into the night. A raw, primal sound that came from somewhere deep and broken. Morgan got out of the car, stood a few feet away, waiting. When Trevor finally straightened, his face was wet with tears. But his eyes were steel. "Let's go finish this." The lake house appeared through the trees like something from a horror movie. Small, isolated, a single light burning in the window. Garrett's truck sat in the driveway. He was here. Morgan parked 50 yards down the road, hidden by trees. They walked the rest of the way in darkness. Morgan pulled out a small digital recorder, tested it, slipped it into Trevor's jacket pocket. "Let him talk," she whispered. "Don't threaten him. Don't hit him. Just let him confess." Trevor nodded. They approached the house. Trevor tried the door. Unlocked. Of course it was. Garrett never thought he'd be found. They stepped inside. The house smelled like whiskey and would smoke. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace. And there, sitting in an armchair with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a revolver on the side table, was Garrett. He looked up when they entered. Didn't seem surprised. "Wondered when you'd figure it out," he said, his words slurred. "Took you long enough." Trevor closed the door behind them. Morgan stayed near the entrance. "We need to talk, Garrett." Garrett laughed. A broken, hollow sound. "Talk? What's left to talk about, little brother? You know everything now. I'm the villain. You're the victim. Story over." "Why?" Trevor's voice cracked. "Why do you hate me so much?" Garrett took a long pull from the bottle. "Hate you? I don't hate you, Trevor. I envy you." "That's not an answer." "Yes, it is." Garrett stood, swaying slightly. "You know what it's like growing up in your shadow? Being the older brother who's never quite good enough? Mom and Dad bragging about your grades, your sports, your promotions, your perfect life? That's not my fault. No, it's not. But it's my reality." Garrett moved closer. "Natalie loved you. Did you know that? Really loved you. But I made her doubt it. Made her think I was the better choice. And for 2 months, 2 glorious months, she chose me. And then you killed her. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. An accident you covered up. An accident you let me suffer for." Garrett's face twisted. "You want to know the truth? I was relieved when she died. Because I didn't really want her, Trevor. I just wanted to take her from you." The confession hung in the air. "And Bridget, same thing. I didn't love her either. Still don't. I just want to prove I could take her from you too." Trevor took a step forward. "The baby is mine, Garrett. Bridget knew it. She was using both of us." Garrett blinked. For the first time, genuine shock crossed his face. "What?" "She did a paternity test. It's mine. And she was going to tell you it was yours to trap you." Garrett stumbled backward. "No, she wouldn't." "She did. Just like you used me. She used you." Something broke in Garrett's expression. He laughed again. Louder. More unhinged. "So we're both idiots. Both played by the same woman. That's almost poetic." He reached for the revolver. Morgan moved instantly, but Trevor was faster. He grabbed the gun from the table, ejected the bullets, threw them into the fireplace. "You're not taking the easy way out," Trevor said quietly. "You're going to face what you did. You're going to answer for Natalie. For Ryan. For every person you've destroyed." Garrett sank into the chair. Defeated. "Warren already told me everything," Trevor continued. "Morgan has documented everything. Tomorrow morning, we're going to the police. You're going to confess. And you're going to prison. My life is over. Your life was over the moment you decided other people's happiness was something to steal instead of something to build yourself." Morgan stepped forward. "It's time to go." But before they could move, headlights flooded the driveway. Car door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. The door burst open, and Heather stood there, wild-eyed, with 2 police officers behind her. "That's him," she said, pointing at Garrett. "That's my husband. I want to file charges for assault, infidelity, and I have evidence he was involved in a vehicular manslaughter 12 years ago." The officers moved into the room. "Sir, we need you to come with us." Garrett looked at Trevor, then at Heather. "You call the cops on me?" "No," Heather said coldly. "Your wife did. Bridget gave me everything before they took her to the hospital. Phone records, texts, emails, a written statement. She knew she was losing the baby, and she wanted to make sure you paid for what you did." Garrett's face went white. "Even in her worst moment," Heather continued, "she made sure you wouldn't walk away clean." That's the difference between you and everyone else, Garrett. You destroy people, but they rebuild, and then they come for you. The officers handcuffed Garrett. Read him his rights. Led him out to the patrol car. Trevor watched through the window as they drove away. Morgan put a hand on his shoulder. It's over. No, Trevor said quietly. It's just beginning. If you've made it this far, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me what you think Trevor should do next. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Because what happens next isn't about revenge anymore. It's about healing. It's about choice. It's about deciding who you want to be after betrayal breaks you open. And the next chapter? The next chapter is where Trevor makes the hardest decision of his life. Trevor sat in the waiting room, hands clasped, staring at linoleum floors that reflected fluorescent lights. Bridget had been in surgery for 3 hours. Complications from the miscarriage. Life-threatening hemorrhaging. Touch and go, the doctor said. His mother sat beside him, silent. Paige paced near the vending machines. And Trevor? Trevor didn't know what he felt. Grief, anger, relief, guilt for feeling relief, love for a woman who'd betrayed him, hate for what she'd done. It was all tangled together like barbed wire wrapped around his heart. The surgeon finally emerged. Trevor stood. She's stable. We stopped the bleeding. She'll recover fully, but... The doctor paused. The damage was extensive. She won't be able to have children naturally. I'm sorry. Trevor nodded. Sat back down. His mother cried quietly. Paige disappeared into the bathroom, and Trevor felt nothing. The baby he wanted was gone. The future he'd imagined was erased. But maybe that was mercy. Maybe starting over required complete destruction first. Can I see her? The doctor nodded. Trevor walked down the sterile hallway, pushed open the door to room 317. And there was Bridget, pale, tubes and wires, eyes closed. She looked fragile, breakable, human. Trevor pulled a chair close to the bed. Saturday, watched her breathe, and then her eyes opened. Trevor. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm here. Tears slid down her face. I'm so sorry. For everything. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to stay. I need you to know I'm sorry. Trevor was quiet for a long moment. Then, why did you do it? Bridget closed her eyes. Because I felt invisible. Because you worked all the time. Because Garrett paid attention to me in a way you stopped doing years ago. And then it became a trap I didn't know how to escape. You could have told me. I was ashamed and scared. And by the time I realized how wrong it was, I was pregnant and I didn't know what to do. The baby was mine, Bridget. I know. And you were going to lie about it. Yes. At least she was honest now. What do you want from me? Trevor asked. Bridget opened her eyes. Nothing. I want nothing. I just want you to be free. To find someone who deserves you. To be happy. Trevor stood. Okay. I'm letting you go, Bridget. Not because I hate you, but because we broke each other. And broken people can't fix each other. He moved toward the door. Trevor. He paused. Thank you. For everything. For being kind, even when I didn't deserve it. Trevor nodded and walked out. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. Garrett's trial had lasted 3 weeks. The verdict came back unanimous. Guilty on all counts. Vehicular manslaughter. Obstruction of justice. Criminal conspiracy. 15 years minimum. Warren got 5 years for accessory after the fact. Trevor watched from the back of the courtroom as they led Garrett away in chains. His brother looked smaller somehow. Diminished. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Garrett mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry. Trevor looked away. Some apologies come too late to matter. Outside, Morgan waited by her car. How do you feel? I don't know yet, Trevor admitted. Ask me in a year. Morgan smiled. Fair enough. She opened her car door, then paused. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. Justice might not feel satisfying immediately, but it's necessary. Trevor nodded. Watch her drive away. Then he walked to his own car, started the engine, and drove. Not home, not to his parents' house, but to the cemetery where Natalie was buried. He hadn't been there in 12 years. Couldn't face it before. But now he could. He knelt by her headstone. "I'm sorry I didn't protect you," he whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't know what he was doing. I'm sorry it took me 12 years to get you justice." The wind rustled through the trees. And for the first time in 12 years, Trevor felt something like peace. 1 year later, Trevor sat in a coffee shop, laptop open, working on manuscript. He'd left his corporate job 6 months ago, started writing, processing, healing. The book was almost done, a memoir about betrayal, justice, and rebuilding. "Is this seat taken?" He looked up. A woman stood there with kind eyes and a warm smile. "It's all yours." She sat down, pulled out her own laptop. They worked in comfortable silence for 20 minutes. Then she spoke again. "I'm sorry, but I have to ask, are you Trevor Hammond? I saw your interview on that podcast about your brother's case." Trevor hesitated, then nodded. "I am. I just wanted to say, your story helped me. I was in an abusive relationship, and hearing how you chose justice over family pressure gave me the courage to leave." Trevor's throat tightened. "I'm glad I could help. Would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Not as a date, just as two people who've survived things." Trevor smiled. For the first time in a long time, a real smile. "I'd like that." She wrote her number on a napkin. "I'm Rachel, by the way. Nice to meet you, Rachel." She left. Trevor looked at the napkin, then at his manuscript. The final chapter still needed to be written. But for the first time, he knew how it would end. Not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with the choice to heal. The choice to trust again. The choice to believe that betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. He began typing. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just break your heart. It teaches you what you're made of. And I learned I'm made of something stronger than pain. I'm made of choice. The choice to seek truth instead of revenge. The choice to heal instead of destroy. The choice to build a life worth living instead of drowning in a past worth forgetting. My brother took years from me, but I won't let him take my future. That belongs to me, and I'm finally ready to claim it. Before we end this story, I want you to understand something important. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's a story about the choices we make when life breaks us. Trevor could have chosen violence, could have chosen revenge, could have let bitterness consume him. Instead, he chose justice. He chose truth. He chose healing. And that's the message I want you to take from this. You're not defined by what people do to you. You're defined by how you respond. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video. Drop a comment telling me, what would you have done in Trevor's position? And subscribe to True Crime Files HQ, because every story we tell here has a lesson worth learning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this community. And remember, no matter how dark the betrayal, you always have the power to choose light. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, until next time.